I feel like we need to talk about the elephant in the room. The size of next generation gaming consoles. Welcome to EFTM, and that's exactly what we're going to look at right now. We've unboxed them all three new next generation consoles. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S. And I mean, I've got to be honest, it's the most obscure looking range in a long time. I think this little guy here is probably the most familiar looking. It's probably the most standard size of the three. What I want to do is I want to give you some comparisons to help kind of set this up for you. So let's bring in the Xbox One S, or digital. So this is kind of, you can see where the design cues for the Series S comes from is this guy. But it's kind of the guts of the One X. So much more powerful, but a lot slimmer. So look at that. Way smaller in every dimension. Just in every conceivable measure, the new Series S is a phenomenally smaller device. But just for context, there's the 360. I haven't got my original here. It's stored in my archive. But here's the 360, for example. You know, it's not getting smaller. This is enormous. And we'll get to the real elephant in the room shortly, which is, where the hell do you put it? So that's Xbox. And I've got to say, still looking at these new controllers, I'm a pretty big fan of what they've done from Xbox in terms of just keeping it simple in terms of what they've changed, but you can feel and kind of see the change. So that's good. And then comes this guy. And I mean, there's just no shying away from the sheer scale of this beast. And the all-digital version is the same, just no disk drive. It's taller, wider, but slimmer. That's the only difference between the two. The two new biggest high-end ones is, I guess, on this angle, she's a bit slimmer. She's got all the curves, but she's a bit thinner. But on every other measure, height, width, the PlayStation is just utterly enormous. So, how does it compare to its previous generations? I've shown you quickly in the unboxing. If you haven't seen that, jump on the YouTubes. Here's your PlayStation 4. So, you know, very vast difference in the two, unquestionably. There's really nothing dimensionally similar about them. And I guess that's what they're going for. They're going for something bold here because, as someone just said to me, I mean, people are going to know you've got this when they walk in your lounge room, so that's pretty cool. Now, this isn't the original PS3 because it was enormous, and I've got to find that one. It's somewhere in the archives. But if you remember this design, this was the kind of, it had the disk drive. Oh, I've still got a disc in there. Test Drive Unlimited 2, what a winner. This was, you know, this was pretty crazy, but the first one was even bigger. It was had bigger girth, but it was certainly not as tall as this. So I'd actually argue that if I can track down that original PS3, it's kind of got the same mass of it, but there's no way it's as tall as this. So it kind of cuts off here, but I think it has the same mass. But here's my fun look, PS2. Now again, that's not the original PS2, but it's where the PS2 ended up, which is kind of like this. They ended up a bit smaller. Even the PlayStation 4 got smaller. The Pro version then added a bit of bulk. So you can imagine in a few years the PS5 is going to get smaller. There'll be smaller iterations of it. But right now, blimey, Charlie, it's enormous. But here's my biggest challenge. Where do we fit it? Where do I put it? Because neither of these fit well into places where you might previously have thought, that's where I'll put the PlayStation. Now, I'm thinking about my house and whether or not in the entertainment unit this, I think, will fit because we've currently got, I think, an Xbox and then the fetch box sitting on top of it. So this will take that place and the fetch box is going to have to move up a shelf maybe. But here in the man cave, I'm completely lost because with a 75-inch TV, there's no room either side of the TV. So when I go back to my standard 65, I'll probably be able to fit this beside it or this beside it, no major issue. But there's this great spot in our entertainment unit which is made for these things, and neither of them will fit snugly in there. I'm going to try and squeeze this guy in, but this definitely doesn't fit. So I think that's the biggest challenge people are going to have, is where do you want to put it? Now, I think most people are going to want them out in the open, you know, visible to people, and that's great. But you are going to need to have that conversation with your family, because they're going to, my wife, for example, probably not a fan of having one of these sitting out in the open in the lounge room. So work on that one over the weeks or months you're going to have to wait before yours arrives. But that is how these two devices compare in size, in girth, in height. And I can't wait to plug them in and get playing. Like and subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate your support there. And leave a comment. I engage with commenters. If you want to leave a narky comment, I'll be narky back to you. But thanks for watching, and we'll be back. All the details are regularly up at EFTM.com.